Okay. Hi everybody, my name is Natasha and I'm really excited to be here to give you an overview of my career path and how I became a global planning assistant at ASOS. So firstly, let's talk about ASOS, who you may or may not have heard of. We're a global e-commerce site that caters to the 20-something-year-old customer. We believe in a world where you have the total freedom to be you without judgment. We believe in inclusivity for all. We back body positivity with over 200 models to represent our audience. We have a loud voice in the LGBTQ plus activism alongside a world-leading ethical trade strategy. So onto a few figures from last year. ASOS took 3,171 million. We had 23.4 million active customers, 2.7 billion visits to our website, and 22 million followers on our social media, which led to 1 million views on our first week of TikTok. I mean, that is really a whistle-stop tour of what ASOS achieves and who we are. So what is global planning and how does it fit into ASOS? As I said, ASOS is a global retailer, which means that we sell fashion to pretty much every corner of the earth. And in order to do this and make it cost effective and environmentally friendly, we have 3 warehouses across the world. Our biggest one and our first warehouse is in Barnsley, which serves the UK and quite a few other parts of the world, such as Australia and East Asia. Then we have one in Berlin, which pretty much only serves the European customer. I think it's like 27 countries within Europe. And then our third warehouse is in Atlanta, America, which serves predominantly the USA, but also Canada and Puerto Rico. So the global planning team ensure that each warehouse has the right stock in the right place before the customer even knows they want to buy it. And we do this by looking at historical sales data and trends, alongside also predicting upcoming shopping habits and future trends. So essentially, what we do is a lot of analysis. It's a really great position to be in if you want to work within fashion, but not necessarily design or be creative. So how did I get to this role? If we go back to my education, it was really hard to know what I wanted to do when I was at school. And I thought that I always kind of knew that I wanted to work in fashion. So I took GCSE textiles alongside other subjects and I really enjoyed it. And I liked being creative, but I wasn't necessarily sure that design and making clothes was for me. So then when it came to A levels, I dropped textiles and took on photography as my creative subject, which I loved because I was able to branch out into fashion photography and it was a good creative outlet. However, I still didn't really know what I wanted to study at university. So I applied for a really broad course of international business at Brighton. As I said, it was a really open degree. And the thing that attracted me to it was that I got to do a year abroad. However, during my summer holidays, I realised that I really didn't want to go to university at this point. And so I applied for an art foundation and luckily got in. An art foundation is a good way to develop your creativity, as it gives you the option to try all different forms of art, such as fine art, graphic design, 3D design, and textiles, and then you'll specialize in a certain area. I once again specialized in textiles, and then with Art Foundation, you have a lot more freedom with your brief, so you can really explore lots of different areas in fashion. At this point in time, I was saying yes to any fashion opportunity that was coming my way. So during my Art Foundation, I was helping out at fashion shows where I was dressing up models before they went onto the runway. And I also got a job working at the PR team in New Look. And that was mainly like sending out invites and proofreading like their lookbooks and stuff. But the best part of that job was at the end of the day, you're allowed to go into the sample cupboard and take whatever free clothes you wanted. So after my Art Foundation, I still really wasn't sure about university, so I cancelled my place at Brighton. And then I went and moved to Hong Kong for a few months where I taught drama. And then coming back to the UK, I took a job at an architect firm as a receptionist. And this is where I got the opportunity to really think about what I wanted to do, because they kept asking me if I wanted to train as an architect, which I didn't really have any interest in at all. So I decided at this point that I wanted to be a fashion buyer. and there was only 2 universities at that point that were doing fashion buying and merchandising as a degree. One of them was London College of Fashion and the other one was Westminster, and I only really wanted to go to London College of Fashion. So I applied for the course and I got an interview where you had to do a project which you would present in the interview. You also have to do a maths test, and if you don't pass the maths test, then you don't even get an interview. So I worked really hard on it and got myself a place. It was a really great course with a multitude of opportunities. My first job in head office was an internship at Harvey Nichols as a buyer's admin assistant for the jewellery and accessories team. It's a really great way to develop the skills that I was learning at university and gain experience. Internships can be really, really good, but what I would make sure is that they are at least covering your expenses, as you should never be working for free. So on completion of my degree, I went to go and work in the menswear studio of Alexander McQueen, who are a really big luxury designer. And I absolutely loved that job. I was in charge of helping to curate the fashion show. I got to work with all the designers, and sometimes if it was really busy before the show, I would help with like pattern cutting and fabric cutting. But the main aspect of that job was working and setting up like model fittings and model castings. I'd go on all the lookbook shoots, I'd go to the fashion shows in Paris, and it really was a brilliant job. But what I would say, if you're working in a job like that, is that you are working incredibly long hours and it is a lot of hard work. But what you will experience is you'll be able to communicate with everyone, because I was working with the CEO, I was working with the creative director, I was also working with interns and model bookers and all sorts of people, because it's a hugely collaborative job and you'll make friends for life. I then left McQueen to move on to a job that was more related to my degree. I was also worried I was getting a bit pigeonholed into menswear because I'd specialised in menswear in my degree, and then my first job was in menswear. So I went to a job in the complete opposite side of the fashion industry, and I went to work in women's underwear. So my next job was a product merchandising assistant at Agent Provocateur. So a bit about product merchandising. It's kind of a hybrid between buying and merchandising. There's an element of creativity in the sense that you're building the ranges, which then you provide to the designers. So essentially, you're looking at the future season and you would say to the designers, oh, this season we need X amount of bras, X amount of pants, and then the designers will go away and design the product. And then as a product merchandising assistant, you are responsible for a lot of data entry and providing sales reports. But what I would say is that you can make this entirely your own, because I became really interested in the effect celebrities wearing our products had on sales. So for example, everyone from Dua Lipa to Beyonce to the Kardashians were wearing our products. So I'd put those products into a sales report and send it out every Monday. And this ended up being one of the most loved reports of the company and was presented to the CEO in every trade meeting. So you really have the position to showcase your skills, and don't be afraid to direct your job in the path you want, because it can really promote you as an individual and set you out from the crowd. So I left Agent Provocateur to go and do some freelance work, but also build myself up as an individual. I worked in companies such as Reiss, Missoma, the jewelry company, and Marks and Spencer's. Freelancing is a good way to build up your skill set and settle into working in different areas where you're meeting new people and collaborating with new functions. You have the freedom to make an impact and get some great connections. It's also a good way of trying out different aspects of fashion, and because you're not tied down to a full-time job. What you do have to remember when you're freelancing is that you don't get any paid holiday or company benefits. During this period, I went to a lot of free talks and events, and I can tell you more about these later, but I went to one to help with self-promotion, where I learnt how to really showcase yourself and the art of storytelling rather than just commenting on yourself. It champions you to think that actually you have achieved a lot, and certainly you have a lot to give. But honestly, there are lots of free things out there to get you new connections. I even, like, one of the events I went to, I made friends with the mother of Skepta's child, who has a really interesting fashion brand. So you'll never know who you meet and what you'll experience. So now we've come to where I am now in global planning. I was incredibly interested in this role as the future of retailing is online and global. So I saw the job at ASOS and was instantly interested. I can tell you now that ASOS is a great company to work for. They care about you and there is lots of progression within the company. Even within global planning, there's an opportunity to work in the US team, the Europe team, the Barnsley team, and each one is very interesting in their own way. Within global planning, each team member looks at specific areas. So I look after the seasonal events such as Halloween, Christmas, and Valentine's to make sure we're really getting the stock in time because they're such time conscious events. And then I also look after Adidas, which means just making sure that the stock is going to the right place because Adidas just sells out as soon as we get a new job, sells out instantly. So we just need to make sure it lands correctly. I would say that global planning and merchandising jobs are a really great way to work in fashion if you love numbers and you love analysing. It's a different way to work with numbers and strategy. And what I found throughout my career is that it's really important to believe in yourself because there are times where you might fall down a ladder, but just know that only means that you've landed at the bottom of a new ladder and that is completely yours to climb. As I said, there's lots of opportunities at ASOS. So I'll tell you a bit more about the areas you can work in. So these are just a few of the functions within ASOS. In the commercial team, I'd say the buying and merchandising functions are the biggest. So that's where the buyers will go out and buy the clothes and create the ranges, and merchandisers will merchandisers and do it. That's essentially the numbers aspect behind it. You could go in fabric sourcing, design, and then my function is global commerce and marketing, but there's also different areas within that. So there's global trading who work with different territories and look at what competitors are doing and instantly react to the competition. And then there's studios, so you could be anything from a photographer to a stylist and absolutely anything. So we have loads of entry-level positions that we recruit for throughout the year in the different business areas. And these roles don't require previous work experience. For example, merchandising administrator, buyers administrator, and sample assistant. And you can find this through the ASOS careers site. If you are employed by ASOS, you are able to do internships in various areas of the business, from fashion buying to leadership to accountancy. There are multiple levels, from level 2, which is the equivalent of 5 GCSEs, to level 7, which is graduate level. Apprenticeships are a great way to grow academically and functionally, and ASOS will invest in you and nurture your career and performance. As you'll be an employee, you'll be earning a wage, which can be more beneficial than an internship, as these are often paying you nothing or the bare minimum. One good thing about the apprenticeships within ASOS is that you're not bonded. So if it was to mean that you left the company, you can carry on doing your apprenticeship elsewhere. ASOS has also partnered with the Fashion Retail Academy, who help to provide apprenticeships. The Fashion Retail Academy is a really great way to step into fashion. You can apply with little qualifications, and what they will do for you is offer you the opportunity to get your qualifications and skills whilst you're doing one of their courses. So it's a great way to get into fashion if you haven't necessarily already got the qualifications. So there's plenty of pathways into fashion, and it's just understanding the opportunities that are out there, because ASOS also work with young people who aren't in any education, training or employment, and they collaborate with the Princess Trust on a program called Get Started With, and this is a way to learn functional skills in different business areas. So the process, if you were interested in working for ASOS, please visit our careers website, which has all the available positions. And please note that we only hire 18-year-olds and above. Unfortunately, at the moment, ASOS do not provide any work placements or internships. So I thought it would be good to show you an overview of what would happen if you apply to ASOS. So you look at the site and submit your CV to Workday. At the moment, I can't promise it'll be a face-to-face interview because we're in a pandemic, but hopefully we'll get back to those soon. If you're interested in buying or merchandising and probably design, you're likely to have to do a small project, which is normally based around current trends and brands. And so I've kind of come to the end of my talk. So I thought I'd mention some useful ways in which you can gain insights and experience in the fashion sector. Firstly, there's a free online talk by Stephanie Sword-Williams, which is the one that I went to about self-promotion. And I'd say it's a really insightful way to think differently about your accomplishments and achievements and present them in a clear and clever way to recruiters. It's really confident boosting, and it makes you really understand that you are amazing and yes, you are worthwhile. So I'd really recommend it, and you can sign up on Eventbrite. Eventbrite is also a really great way to find out about free talks and goings on across London. There are loads of things on there that look really interesting, and you'll get further knowledge on certain areas and even gain valuable connections within the industry. If you're looking for internships or placements, then you can use the website Fashion Worky, which is filled with hundreds of live opportunities. And I was looking at it the other day, and you could do styling for Condé Nast, who own Vogue, or there's a HR intern for Dior, an intern for Depop, and I think there was merchandising intern for Louis Vuitton on there as well. So there's some really great stuff. And then the business fashion is a great way to find entry-level jobs within fashion industry. It also keeps you up to date with the latest goings on in the business world of fashion. And then there's an Instagram called Gal Cal, who posts loads of online talks, and they can be anything from listening to career stories to talks on how to pitch yourself or introductions to marketing. So it's worthwhile just following, because there might be something of interest that you could see. These are only a few ways, but I would recommend all of them. And I think it's key to say yes to every opportunity and not be afraid. During university, I was studying menswear, and I approached GQ magazine to ask if I could be invited to their menswear event. And they said yes. So I went to their menswear event and interviewed David Gandy, who is a hugely famous fashion model, and Dylan Jones, who's editor of GQ. So I would say, if there's something you've seen that you're interested, don't be afraid to contact them, because you'll never get a yes if you don't ask. So that is really all about me. As you heard, I haven't had the most conventional career, but that's fine. Each career move has really helped develop myself into the person that I am now. I would say that there is no hurdle that you can't overcome. You just need determination and belief in yourself. And I know at times it can be hard, but everyone's career is so different. So the worst thing you can do is compare yourself to anyone else. Don't dwell on anything. You've learnt, you'll learn from it. So just move on, dust yourself off, and carry on going forward. And my top tip would be to take every opportunity. So thank you for listening. And then I think we're moving on to questions now.